I'd like to introduce our next guest speaker, Donald Farr. He is a seasoned Mustang enthusiast, veteran of the automotive industry, current editor of Mustang Monthly, author of the Boss 302 book, which I think we may have some copies, or other books that Donald has written. He's recipient of the Ford Lifetime Achievement Award. My friend, Donald Farr, thank you for coming.
Excuse me for the notes. I usually do my talking behind a keyboard, not behind a microphone. So I remember being in elementary school, and when the teacher brought pictures or video, it was a lot more fun than just having the teacher there. So I thought I would bring a few pictures along. I want to talk a little bit about, this has been kind of a crazy year. Of course, Carroll Shelby passed away back in May, and I was asked to be involved in a special tribute magazine that we put together partnering with Motor Trend. It should still be on the newsstand. That was a great honor to be asked to help out with a book like this. It has a lot of photography that I found in the old hot rod archives that hadn't been seen in 50 years. So that was neat to be able to do that, and yesterday our company, and I was real honored to be a part of a presentation. Our company gave a $10,000 check to Carroll Shelby Foundation as our contribution for doing this book. So like I said, it's still on the newsstand, and there's also a hardbound version of it you might see in a bookstore. So watch out for that. I think it's just coming out. And I couldn't have done that book if I hadn't been involved with this Shelby SIP, we call it, single issue publication, that we've done for the past 6 years. Jerry Heasley's here. Jerry does most of the photography for it. I couldn't do it without Jerry. And then, of course, last year, I was very honored. I guess it's been 2 years now. As a lot of you probably know, I wrote a book about Boss 302s back in 1980. And I kept waiting for an opportunity to reprint it, and I kept hearing that Ford was going to do a new Boss 302. Of course, they aren't telling me because I'm part of the media, but finally one day they asked me to come up to Detroit and said, you can keep this a secret, we're going to do a new Boss 302 for 12, and would you like to redo your old book and add the new car to it? So that's what I did. It came out last year. I think Scott has some here. I'm not sure what they're going to do with them, but there's some going to be here, and it's still available in the bookstores. Now, you probably saw the '67 convertible in the Drake booth. Jerry Choate did a beautiful job restoring it. Last year it was here and had not been restored. It was just the way they had found it. And I saw this emblem on the back. Now, I grew up near Spartanburg, South Carolina, so I recognize this emblem. Most of the cars in my hometown, most of the Fords anyway, had this emblem on it. And it just was so familiar to me. It gave me a special interest in the car. My brother-in-law was friends with Mr. Pierce, and my aunt and uncle lived in a neighborhood in Spartanburg called Pierce Acres. And the interesting thing about that neighborhood was most of the streets were named after Fords. And I had to go back and look it up. Fairlane Drive, Thunderbird Place, Falcon Way, and those streets are still there. I think the development was put there before the Mustang, so no Mustang Way, even to this day. Now, I've been with Mustang Monthly for a long time. Goes back to about 1980. But I've been with it so long that a lot of people think that I'm the guy who started the magazine. Well, that's not the case. And I wanted to talk about some defining moments in the magazine's history because in February it'll be our Mustang Monthly's 35th anniversary. So I found this old picture of Larry Dobbs, who actually started the magazine. And that car actually had a part in why he started the magazine. He bought that Mustang convertible in 1976. And he and his wife, Judy, decided to go take a vacation up to Georgia. They went to Stone Mountain and stumbled into the first Mustang Club of America Grand National. Now, how fortunate was that? Now, Larry's walking around, and he's seeing people buying and selling old Mustang parts. And he says, I can do that. And this was before Scott Drake was reproducing them all. So they were just going to salvage yards and taking the parts and taking them to Mustang shows and reselling them. And Judy used to tell the story when Larry started doing it about, finding hubcaps in the dishwasher. So that's where Larry started. He went back to Florida, started a company called Mustang Supply. And he started going to the junkyards, buying and selling parts. And then after a couple of years, he was trying to figure out a way, well, how can I sell my parts? And he was starting to reproduce decals as well. You might remember that, you know, air cleaner decals and all of that. So he came up with an idea. He worked at the local newspaper, and he started a little magazine called Mustang Exchange Letter at the time. It was mostly classifieds. And he ran an ad in Hemmings Motor News, had 92 subscribers for the first issue, and just sold a few parts and just decided to grow it. But at that time, it was mostly classified ads. I don't know if you can read this. I think this one was actually from '79. I love the 70 Boss 302 here for $2,500. We wish we could find that. There's a '67 Mustang convertible down toward the bottom for $2,800. It kind of makes you sick to go back and look at those. I keep thinking, why didn't I buy some? But you know, I couldn't afford them then, and I can't afford a lot of them now. So. Then in October '79, Larry took a big step and made the magazine full size, went with color. This was the first issue that had a color cover and color inside. And he took this, the cover picture came from a promotional photo that Ford sent to Ford dealers in 1964 as a thank you for selling Mustangs. You can still see the 417 by 417 tag down there. They wanted to sell 417,000 by April 17th of the next year, which they did and exceeded that. But Larry bought this 8x10 picture at a swap meet, and so that became the first color cover. Then in 1980, he decided he needed some help, so he hired this young guy from South Carolina. I think it was more a defining moment in my career than it was in the magazine history. But that's certainly done a lot for me, for Larry hiring me. I had been freelancing for him. I had no education and formal training in writing or doing photography. Little experience and nothing more than a IBM Selectric typewriter sitting back there behind me and a 35 millimeter camera. But I remember the first week I came there, Larry was laying out an ad, and I had never been around anybody cutting and pasting. And he was taking a big risk. He was going to spend $5,000 on this 2/3 page ad in Hot Rod magazine. And I think he had to take out a loan. I didn't realize how close to the edge everything was. I was just going to work there. I was all excited. So he took a big gamble by running this ad in Hot Rod, and it brought in 5,000 subscribers. It doubled our circulation and kept us going, and also helped us do this book. Little did I know when I went to work down there that Larry had this book in mind, and I did not know that sandblasting a car and steel wooling parts was part of the job description, but it was. So we went out to this shop most days and restored the Mustang. That's actually the car before we restored it. It was actually a pretty nice car. We needed a cover to pre-sell, and so we took the pictures for the cover before we tore the car apart. And there's kind of how we spent most of our days. That's a picture of Larry. He would never let me run that in the magazine, but he's not my boss anymore. So, but that's, we just kind of sit wherever we could outside this little shop, and he's actually steel wooling the fastback quarter window vents. You know, we had to do that. Does anybody reproduce those? They're kind of complicated, I guess. That's a challenge for you, Scott. Yeah.